Lifeboat Live, we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hello, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you're on the lifeboat. I didn't see Bubba today, and he's going to be upset that he missed this because I'm going to break into song later, and I'm sure that he would be very, very happy that I did. I was getting ready to do tonight's show. I was looking through, and I have deleted about 10 shows since I started doing the lifeboat. Maybe a little bit more than 10. It's hard to tell because some of them are no longer there. They're like fully deleted. It might have been 20, but we are rapidly approaching 850 shows here on the lifeboat. And that means that it's pretty close to 800 and not sure. Good to see you. That means that it's 850 hours, give or take, of shows. And sometimes the light's all shining on me. Other times I can barely see. Lately it occurs to me. What a long, strange trip it's been. So we started this thing on July the 31st in 2020. And the lifeboat started out, a lot of you are new. Some of you, I look at Charlie Mullins. I look at, names out there, Alan Valentine, Miss V. There are people that have been here a long, long time and have watched the transformation of the lifeboat. The lifeboat started out as the Tommy Scoville Show, and I came out and I told people a little bit about who I was. And it started out video, and that didn't last very long. Mark, my bobbleheaded partner, Mark Wages, suggested that I give the live feed thing a try. And once we had gotten to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, we were able to, or actually 1,000 subscribers, we were able to go to live feed. And I don't know that we've done more than 2 or 3 videos since. It has been a live feed kind of show, which is self-serving because by going live feed, I don't have to edit. And editing is not my strong suit. You ever want to see somebody that edits well, check out Trinity Red Blue Pill. Hi ho, Kermit the Frog here. The best editor I have seen on YouTube. Absolutely amazing in what she does. I have never had a drug or alcohol problem. However, I have a problem just as big. You know what? Not sure. Drug and alcohol problems are manifestations of things that we deal with. But there are people who suffer from food. There are people who suffer from gambling. There are people who suffer from anger. There are people who suffer from workaholics. it really doesn't matter because we're all in the same boat, which is how at about the 1 or 2 months into this, somebody made a comment that, uh, there really isn't a whole lot of difference between that's why I like Chase the Heat so much. There's no goofy editing. So many YouTubers do goofy editing. Yeah, well, we're lazy, so we've got that going for us. But we figured it out early on that we were a live platform, and a comment was made that we were all in the same boat. And my brother, from the very early days of Chase the Heat, betrayal works too, absolutely, and we can get addicted to being betrayed. Those emotions, it's really a complex thing, and we're all in the same boat. We are all in the same boat. We have a reward center of our brain that starts working improperly, and it causes all kinds of emotional problems. So comments were made that we are all in the same boat. I don't care whether or not you're addicted to weed or sugar or gambling or anything else. The truth of the matter is we really are all in the same boat. And I think it was my brother Johnny that said something along the lines of he had a bus and we had a boat, and the crew locked onto that, and we started to go through a process of trying to determine what we would call the lifeboat. I can't do this right now. Well, sorry to hear that. Not sure. I really am. Maybe what you can do is just not say anything and sit and listen and see if you hear something that maybe affects you. You know, if it doesn't, more power to you. God bless you. I hope you find something that speaks to you. You know, it's TCO. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, feel free to disappear, not say anything, and just listen, because sometimes listening does really wonderful things for us. So maybe it'd be worth sticking around and listening to what has to be said. If not, God bless you. We're friends with you anyway. But what has happened is thousands of people have found the lifeboat, and thousands of people have made acquaintances, made friendships, and leaned on one another through some of the toughest times of their life. We have dealt with suicide. We have dealt with drug overdoses. We have dealt with the slings and arrows of people who decided that they didn't like the lifeboat. They didn't like it because, primarily because of me, and they didn't like my approach to the whole recovery thing. They like the idea that people who are drug addicts should be punished for being drug addicts. So to admit that it is a disease gives them an out, and they couldn't stand that. See, diseases are cancer. Diseases are heart disease or lupus or things that you have no control over. And because you have control, air quotes, over drug addiction, they were very uncomfortable with that as a concept. And for that, they decided to go after my family. They decided to try to destroy my brother's business. They decided to try to tell the world where I lived, my family's name and all of that. And, it is what it is. And we went through some really tough times. And there's been a core group of people of about 20 of you who have stuck by me and stuck by the boat through some really difficult times. And it's something that has meant the world to me. And I have developed friendships that I didn't think were possible. From time to time, you develop a friendship that you think is something that will last a lifetime, and then you get one of these, and that person ends up on another channel with a shirt that says "Just quit quitting." Written across it is, Tommy sleeps with sheep, or whatever the whole process was, that they took great pride in trying to destroy the lifeboat. The fun part is they bragged that they would destroy the lifeboat. At that point, we had about 800 people on there. So obviously it didn't work. The big red button, YouTube has done what it can to bury the lifeboat. I'm not going to be one of those people that sits and complains about shadow banning and all of that. But positive messages do not get pushed very hard on the lifeboat. Some of that makes sense. If you drive by, you're driving down the road and you see somebody helping a woman across the street, it will register for a split second in your mind. If you drive by that same street and 100 yards down the road, there's a guy with a gun and he's pointing that gun at three people and robbing them at gunpoint, that will be etched in your brain forever. And that's the nature, sadly, of humanity. And it is what it is. It's not a character defect. It is just who we are. It's the reason that you can't drive by a car wreck without rubbernecking the hell out of it, right? And getting a real good eyeful, knowing you might see something that you would rather not see. You just can't pull yourself away from it. But over the course of the time that we've been on the boat, a lot has changed. I have changed probably more than anybody. When I started this show, I believed in abstinence across the board. I did not believe that you could be on any substance and call yourself sober. And I have come to believe that that simply is not the case. I also have come to believe that the war on drugs that I wanted to make my life's mission isn't winnable. And that was a painful thing for me to go through. I've come to believe that the drugs that are on the street today are not on the street to get people high. They're on the street to kill people. And I believe that our enemies are doing everything within their power to undermine our society, whether that society is in America or if it's in Italy or if it's in England or if it's in Australia. If you fall into what we call the West, right, the free part of the planet, then they're targeting you. And that's a fact. It's a fact that they don't like us mentioning on the lifeboat. And it's a fact that the big red button berries. I've caught some crap recently for being honest about that. They don't want me to say things like it's coming from China. And you know what? I'm gonna. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for those people who feel like I'm risking the boat. Let me tell you what will risk the boat. Me biting the inside of my lip for the next 830 videos. Me pretending to be something I'm not is a much greater risk to this channel than me speaking my mind. The big red button will just not push out the content any further. And that is what it is. They haven't really been doing a whole lot of pushing anyway. That's why we've been hovered at the number we've been hovered at for a very long time. If I were eating peppers or doing anything else, this channel would be growing. And I'm fine with the size of the channel. I'm fine with the group of people that are on this channel. But as you start to develop, things happen. I got robbed the other day, and I didn't really give a whole lot of thought to how I handled that. But I have gotten more emails from people that wanted to pat me on the back for how that was handled. And I'll be honest, I took 99% of them with a grain of salt. But there are people that have known me from the very first video that I did. And I'll pick on somebody in particular. Seventh Son sent me an email that was just that really got my attention, and it made me feel wonderful. And for that, I can't thank him enough. It was heartfelt and it was beautiful, and I really appreciate it. And to all of the people who reached out and said that they thought I handled that well, I appreciate that. The truth is this: there, but for the grace of God is such a great expression, and we use it without thinking about it. But there, but for the grace of God. Without the grace of God that I believe in, I'm Mark, and I'm down there waiting for somebody with a 45 in my hand to steal their money. God put the right people in my path to change my life. Q did wonders to turn me into a different person, and I owe him my life. I do. And I believe that Q was sent there by God. You can believe in coincidences and you can believe in all kinds of things, and it doesn't hurt my feelings and it doesn't make me like you less. I assure you, I don't believe that. I believe that Q was put in my path for a very specific reason. I'm not going to spend the next hour beating the Bible, I promise you. But my question to all parties involved is, what have you learned in the last 830 videos? I come on here and I spend 2 hours a day. I talk about drugs. I talk about relationships. I talk about everything that could have anything to do with sobriety. And sometimes I do pretty good shows. I'll admit that. Sometimes I do some really bad shows, and I'll admit that. But the question becomes, what are you getting out of it? So I'm going to go over a couple of things today, and I'm going to be a jerk because every once in a while you just have to be. So take it with a grain of salt and take it knowing that I'm saying these things because I love you. I really do. And I don't love you primarily because you're such fantastic people, although many of you are. I love you because you're drug addicts. I love you because you're struggling with something that I understand. And the reason that I have forgiven Mark for what he did to me, and that hurt. I'm not rich. $3,000 was a hit. And it was a hit that's going to take a couple of miracles to bounce back from. And I am a firm believer that miracles happen, and they seem to happen when I need them. So I know that I will bounce back from what happened to me the other day. But I forgive that man because I know what drugs do to people. And I really do forgive him. I have spent a lot of time in the last 24 hours thinking about 25 years in prison. And that's not going to help this man. And I can go in and put on a suit and a tie and go in there and beg for mercy for that man. I could go in and beg that, you know what, Your Honor, give him 5 years and then turn him over to me. And let me see if I can help him. That's not going to happen. We have mandatory minimums. We have things that the judge is really kind of has his hands tied. And the reason he does is because a long time ago, a politician let out a guy who then went and raped somebody. They lie because what they want is more important to them than your respect. They are willing to sacrifice. Let me see if I can get that back. They are willing to sacrifice your trust for whatever they desire. Absolutely. That is exactly what it is. And I spent a great deal of my life lying to anybody that would listen if it stood a chance for me to get what I needed. And the amazing thing is that I came to the conclusion that I was a rotten person, that I had bad wiring, and that I was born different, and that there was no way for me to overcome that, not with God, not with prayer, not with anything. And then I came to realize that the catalyst for me was opiates. And once I was able to get opiates out of my life, then things began to change. But that wasn't enough. And I think that when I say, what have you learned in the last 830 shows? This is what I want you to get. This is, I think, the most important show that I will do, truthfully, because there's going to be some things that I say today that are going to hurt some feelings, and that's okay. My skin is getting thick, and if you want to say some bad things about me, I'm very easy to find. But there are some things that you have to do. It is very easy to fall into a habit of coming here and hanging out with your friends and not progressing very far in life, not moving forward, comfortably living with the status quo. There are things that you can do that will make you a better person, and they are simple as hell. One of which is having a routine, and that routine starts with making your bed. May seem really basic to you, but let me explain to you why this is such a big damn deal. Because when your eyes open, you have an opportunity to start your day in a way that says, I'm different. I'm not the guy I used to be. You understand? I don't know what that is for you, but for me, it's making my bed. Because I never did it. I'm talking about 46 years I didn't make my bed. 46 years, I shoved the sheets to the bottom of the bed with my feet. And I got out of bed and very often didn't bother showering. I just wore the clothes that I had slept in the night before. And I told the world I was a loser. More importantly, I told myself I was a loser. If you want to break that cycle, then you do something about it. And I'm not asking you to split an atom. I'm not asking you to go and volunteer at a soup kitchen. I'm asking you to make your bed, to get up and say, I'm not going to live in a room that is squalor. I'm not going to live in a room where I can't step on the floor because there are newspapers and pizza boxes. Because if you're going to do that, you're going to fail. Plain and simple. You're going to live the same life that you lived. Yeah, maybe you'll be chemical free, but you're going to live the same life you lived. And if you're here, then chances are you don't want that life. Make your friggin' bed. Get up, get out of bed, and make it. If you have spent the majority of your life sleeping until 3 o'clock, don't do it anymore. I haven't really made my bed in 3 years. I've been in it most of the time. That makes sense. Depression keeps us in bed. It does. It's one of the absolute signs of depression. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to grit your teeth and get out of bed. And it's going to suck. It's not going to feel right. It's going to feel more uncomfortable than anything you've ever done. And you know what? You got to push through that. You got to push through that. Get your ass out of bed. Make it. Walk outside. Go for a walk. Do things you have not done. You want a different life? Do things you haven't done. For about $1.50, you can buy a legal pad. For about $3, you can buy a composition notebook that has that cool little black thing on the outside that kind of looks like marble. Start journaling. I have people every day that say to me, you know what, Captain, I just don't know what to say. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. Tomorrow morning, when you get up in the morning, pick up that journal. And here's what I want you to write. I want you to write, what do you think has been holding you back? There's your topic. Just start writing. Sheer honesty. What has been holding you back? There's your topic for the day. Broken hips and backs, man. I understand completely. I really do. I have had 32 arthroscopic surgeries. I have broken my back twice. I broke my back once and I broke my C6 vertebrae twice. I have survived 2 life-threatening diseases that I don't mention on the boat, and I've had 2 strokes. My medical file is 6 inches thick. I'm not a stud. I'm not somebody that is stronger than anybody else. I just hated who I was. I looked in the mirror and I saw a loser. And I didn't want to see that anymore. So I came up with a plan through the help of somebody far smarter than me. And I did things that seemed so gay. And I don't mean homosexual gay. I mean gay. Have you dropped a tree on your head? No, I have not. I have landed upside down doing backflips on skis going 47 miles an hour and broke my spine. But we could have a competition to see who has been damaged the most. Hopefully Lady Crispin is here because she will absolutely destroy all of us. She has a brain tumor. She has had a disease that the bones in her back have disintegrated. Literally. We could have Buddha, who is 4 inches shorter than he used to be and looks like a question mark. We honestly can have a competition to see who's been injured the most. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes this divulges into that. You know, the worst things that could possibly happen to one another. But I'll tell you something, not sure. As bad as that is, there is a girl on the boat, and she has been very quiet about this. But her grandfather molested her for 3 years, raped her. And she finally got the courage to tell her father, who took up where the grandfather left off and raped her for 4 years. And I'll be honest with you, I can't wrap my brain around that. I don't know how that person continues because I'm not built that way. I don't know. But she does. And she's become one of the most beautiful human beings I've ever met. Does she have bad days? I would imagine she has more bad days than good days. But she gets up. She makes her bed. She journals. She goes outside. She walks. She does the things necessary to start rebuilding your life. Every one of us here is here because our life sucked. That is why we are here. But everything that has happened over the past 3 years is unimaginable. I can imagine that either. You can imagine that as well, I assume you mean. It's heartbreaking that you can imagine that. So we are left with several decisions. And one is, this is it. This is it. One of those situations is always, this is it. It's not going to get any better than this. This is what I've got. You know, there are stories that are ad nauseum. One of the ones that I say here all the time is of a 14-year-old girl who was raped by her uncle and was forced to give birth to the child and said, I don't want to give this child up. So they yanked that child from this person's arms and gave it away. This person had every right to crawl into bed for the rest of the time that they had on this planet. This person became Oprah Winfrey. One of the things that we talk about on the boat, and it is a fact, and this is painful and everybody can hate me for saying it, but I don't care what happened. I'm sorry. It's not that I don't feel passion or compassion, because I do. But no matter what happens to you, it's 5% of your life. It's the 5% of your life that you can't control. The 95% is what you can control. There is a book called The Search for the Meaning of Life by Viktor Frankl. I would read it. I would get that and I would read it. Get that book and read it. And you read the things that this individual endured and you say, how does this person not hate everything and everyone on this planet? In 830 shows, I have learned things. I have learned that there are people who will accept nothing but change. They will do whatever it takes to change. They will get out of bed. They will fight every single morning to become better than they are. And those better steps could be a centimeter at a time. And there might be days that they make 5 centimeters in a row moving forward. And they think, I'm making it. And then they take 2 feet back. Well, you can crawl back into bed at that 2-foot mark. Or you can start moving centimeters forward again. I have come to believe that there is no such thing as neutral. We are moving forward or we are moving back. And I didn't learn this from me. I learned this from watching thousands of other people. I started doing a little homework last night because somebody had said some things about me that upset me. So I started to look at the number of people that I have talked to on the telephone. Not sure I can do about what anyone else says or does. It makes it hard. Here's the thing. I have come to the conclusion that for me, I cried because I had no shoes until I saw a man who had no feet. I was in federal prison and I was watching television with a man named Ice. And he said to me, you're a smart guy, which in federal prison does not take a whole lot of, it doesn't take a whole lot for someone to think that you're a smart person because there are so many people in there that just seem like they don't care much. But he said, will you take a look at my case? I said, sure. He got 25 years, 27 altogether, because he had a third strike. A third drug strike gets you 25 years plus whatever the crime is, which for him was 2 years because it was possession of marijuana. Amazingly, it was his second possession of marijuana. There was no third strike. This man has spent a quarter of his life, if he lives to 100, he has spent a quarter of his life in prison for something that he should not have been in prison for. In fact, his crime should have been 24 months. Somebody made a mistake, and God bless him, ICE was not sharp enough to do anything about this. He had a very short period of time to file papers, and he didn't. So by the time it was figured out and he went to file, he heard things like, well, it's too late to file your appeal. You screwed me. There was no third strike. I've only been arrested twice. How did I get a third strike? As I was leaving prison, I had helped him file I don't know how many appeals. They were opening his case. And to be really honest, I was too depressed to look in to see what happened. But I have watched things like that greatly affected me. I watched a 4'4" tall guy that they called Chihuahua get stomped to death by his cellmate, who literally looked like he was trying to put out a brush fire with a pair of boots on, and stomped this man's head until it looked like a misshapen pumpkin. I've told the story on the boat before. I had an opportunity to kick the door and maybe bring the guards up to stop it from happening. And when I went to make the first kick, my cellmate tackled me. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm trying to stop this." He said, "If they are trying to stop that, then they're going to kill you. We're not allowed to intervene. This isn't our race." So I sat there like a coward, and I didn't kick the door, and I let that man die. And that's something that I'll wrestle with for the rest of my life. And there are days that I don't think about it. And then there are plenty of days that I do. We had a girl commit suicide on this boat. And I know in my heart of hearts, I could have done more to try to stop it. I don't know that I could have stopped it, but I most assuredly could have done more to try to stop it. By the time I found out that she had taken her life, I found an email that she had sent to me prior to taking her life that said, "I would really like to talk to you tonight." That's a failure right here, right? That's a failure. What we have chosen to do with this experiment is tough. It's really tough. And there are going to be things that happen that we have no control over. And there are things that are going to happen that we do have control over. And we certainly have control over our own life. Anyone successful on this planet journals. If you don't know what to journal, shoot me a freaking email and I will tell you how to start. I will tell you what to write. I will tell you how to start journaling. You don't have to be William Shakespeare. You have to write what's in your heart. You have to write what's bothering you. By doing that, you are going to release something from your brain that is wreaking havoc on your brain. You get something in there that starts to develop. It's a seed. It grows into this plague that stops you from being what you are. So the question becomes, for those of you who have been here a long time, you might have seen 430 shows. You might have seen 830 shows, right? You might have seen 10. But the question becomes, what have you done? Are you journaling? Are you making your bed? Do you have a tool book or a tool case full of tricks to do when you begin to feel uncomfortable in your own skin? When you feel like you are overcome with emotions that you can't control, do you have a plan? Because if you don't, it's because you didn't listen. And I'm not mad at you. Honest to God, I'm not. But the time has come to start taking a much more personal, a much more active role in your own addiction. Because I assure you, I'm not a friggin' guru. I'm not here to help you. Sadly, I'm not. I'm here to give you some ideas so that you can help yourself. And I get emails from people who are upset with me because I can't fix them. I'm not a doctor. I'm a drug addict. I have a shirt that says, "Never quit quitting." When I was making that shirt and I was doing it through a service, they said, "You're the host?" I said, "Yeah, Captain Tommy Scoville." They said, "So on the back, do you want Captain Tommy? Or on the back, do you want Lifeboat Crew?" because that's what I put on all of the other shirts. And I said, no, I want Lifeboat Crew. Because I might be stupid enough to do this 2 hours a day every day, but I'm just another crew member on this boat. I'm just another person who's trying to get it done. I had the added benefit of working with somebody so much smarter than me. And when I met this person, I had a 7-gram a day heroin habit. I had been convicted of robbing multiple banks. I had been convicted of being a gun runner. I had hurt people the way that Mark hurt me the other night. A ton of them. A ton of them. All of a sudden, I realized that there were things that I could do to increase the chances that I die sober. And this may come as a shocker. It may sound silly or anything else. I sell watches, and I have the potential to make a lot of money selling watches because I sell rare watches. And I've got a couple of other business ventures going. One that has really got potential to make me a lot of money. These are things I never would have been able to do under the influence. But none of them matter. They don't. They're nicer cars. They're nicer houses. I have one goal in life, and that goal is to die sober. When they close the box on me and they do the toxicology, I want them to say, he had nothing in his system. That's my goal. It's the most important thing in the world to me. Now, because I do this and I share this with the world, cool things happen. 2 days ago, we were able to get a pair of twins who were using fentanyl every single day, a death sentence waiting to happen. I got them to admit to their parents that they were on fentanyl. And God bless them, their parents didn't act like jackasses. I know it hurt, and I know that they're going through it. I know that the parents are beating themselves up about it. I know that the parents are living in hell because of what these kids are going through. But they stepped up to the plate and said, what do we got to do to get these kids sober? And I spit out a couple of medical assisted treatments that seem to be working really well. And they have opted to go with an injectable form of buprenorphine as opposed to taking Suboxone every day under the tongue. They're going with Sublocade. And I don't know. We're on day 2. I'm praying that it works. It might not. If it doesn't, it's not going to stop me from coming here and doing this 2 hours a day. Because I want to help everybody here. But there's one person here that I want to help more than everybody else. Me. If you can say that the person I want to help more than anybody else on this boat is me, then you have a really good chance of success. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people on this boat that I literally love. There are people on this boat who have become such an important part of my life that I don't know that I could live without them. Franklin, thank you, my friend. I love this boat too. And you know what? I'm not shy. Alan Ballantyne has come to mean more to me than I can explain. He lives 13,000 miles from here. But we talk every single week, and he is a brother to me, like my brother Johnny is. You know, we don't share the same mother, but that man is a brother. I have seen things that I didn't think were possible. I am the noise opera. With all due respect, my brother, I love you. He was one of the most negative and evil people. There's no other way to put it. The things that came out of his mouth were evil. I was terrified to know this guy. I sat and went back and forth, and we did this thing for about 5 hours, talking back and forth. And the things that came out of his mouth were terrifying to me. And he's now one of the kindest people I've ever met. I would let him babysit my children. Thank you, my brother. That means a lot to me. But noise opera, salt of the earth. This man transformed himself into something that I would have put money down on 4-1 odds that it wasn't possible. I have come to believe in miracles because I see them every day. Every day. So my question is going to be, again and again and again, my question is going to be, what have you learned? And I hope that what you learned have nothing to do with me. I hope that what you've learned has something to do with you. If you're not journaling, damn it, journal. When I start acting like a jackwagon, and it happens, I start acting like a jerk. It happens to me all the time. And then I go back and I get the book and I start flipping back through and I go, man, April 1st. I started acting like a jackass on April 1st. Then I can go back 2 pages and see what happened so that on April 1st, I started acting like a jackass. And you know what? I evolve. I become a better person. Do I have a long way to go? I have an eternity to go. I'm never going to get to where I want to be. But I'm going to get a lot closer than I was. "830 hours of us getting together and leaning on one another has created a group of people that I don't think this happens anywhere else. I really don't. And all of the cliches, we don't have subscribers, we have family. You know what? If you don't believe that, F you. I'm sorry. It's a really uncool thing to say. But screw you if you don't believe that. Stick around. Read the things that people say to one another. This is a group of people that care to a fault. We have 30 people on the lifeboat. Well, 31 and one doesn't count. But we've had 30 people on the lifeboat who have started medical assisted treatment, who no longer get high, who are using medical assisted treatment as a way to get sober off of opiates. And we have 9 who use naloxone as a way to quit drinking. You paid for that. You paid for that. Well, the vast majority of that. The first season that really came out of my pocket and Mark's pocket. But we have a lot of members on this boat. People who buy memberships. And you know what they've gotten for their memberships? That. Because I've been packing up and getting ready to move and doing all of the things, I have not been creating content for those people. But they buy every month because they know where that money goes. And that to me is amazing. For real. I have made friends with people who I don't want to put on the spot. But I have made friends with people who I know their family. I know what's going on with their loved ones. I know what's going on with their kids. I know the growth that their children are seeing, and it's beautiful and it's touching. We have built a family here. And you know what? From the family part of this, it has worked beautifully. It really has. I am absolutely happy with how that family has grown. Now I just hope that we're doing it one-on-one. I hope that the people are taking care of themselves. I hope that you're journaling. I hope that that all of this is becoming what should happen. Conky Dong, thank you, my friend. Gifted a membership. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. It's a beautiful thing. It means a lot. It means a lot. I have watched people walk away from this boat. And it hurts. It really does. I take it I take it as a shot in the stomach every time it happens. People that I care deeply about. I have had people on this boat who have decided that they don't like me anymore. And that's just part of the deal as well. Well, we're glad you're back. We're glad that the internet is now plugged in. People, get a damn notebook. Please start journaling. Maybe I'll put something together. Maybe I'll put together a journal so that people who say I can't journal can start. My son went to his first school dance and we took our daughter to the park. You know what? That's about as good as an excuse as you can get. That's a beautiful thing, Tommy. You don't owe us an apology. Hobotographer, thank you. I appreciate you. Very talented guy, people. If you could see what he can do with a camera, it's absolutely amazing. There's talent all over this boat. There really is. Artists, musicians, photographers, people whose talents would get relegated to the back burner because of drugs and alcohol. It's a beautiful thing that we have a place that we could celebrate who we are. 830 shows. I would really like to believe that in 830 shows, a lot of you have learned a great deal about who you are, about what addiction is. Most importantly, I hope you realize that it's a disease. If you still struggle with that, do some research. Stop listening to me. Just go research it. Find out why it is now absolutely a fact that drug addiction is a disease. You wouldn't crap on someone with lupus. You wouldn't crap on somebody that has diabetes. If I say diabetes, you don't go diabetes. But if I say alcoholism, society goes alcoholism. He's weak. I can control my drinking. He can't control his. He's weak. Well, I got news for you. I can control my sugar. Doesn't matter how much of it I have. I can neck 6 candy bars a day. No problem. Drink 15 sugar beverages a day. No problem. You know why? Because I'm a stud. That's why. Because I can control my insulin. It's ridiculous, isn't it? What a stupid thing to say. It's no less stupid than the people who say, I can control drinking. How come he can't? We live in a world now that the drugs that are on the street are killing people. Six out of every 10 doses on the street are deadly. I have been saying these pills are $5 a piece, people. Then I said, in Kensington, these pills are going for $2 a piece. Well, I got news for you. Nationwide now, they're $1 a piece. Think there's a lot of profit margin in that? This stuff is here to kill us. It's here to undermine the fabric of our country. And sadly, the rest of the world doesn't care. They don't. That's why 400 people a day are overdosing on dope and no one's doing a damn thing about it. You know? Media, music, and society has labeled us. It's just ignorance. Sarah, it is ignorance. Perfect word, too. It's not malicious. It's not angry. It's ignorant, right? Ask me to explain Einstein's theory of relativity. I'm not stupid. I'm not. I have a decent vocabulary. I have a half decent IQ. But I can't explain that because I'm ignorant of that subject matter. I don't know enough about it. I could not wax eloquently on Einstein's theory of relativity. And the average American cannot say anything intelligent about the disease of addiction. They don't need to until they do. And when they do, it's usually because they've lost somebody they love. And by then, it's too late. If the lifeboat does anything well, it's educate people very often before it's too late. Diabetes runs in my in-laws family, and my husband has been diabetic since about 2018. And I feel for him. He has a disease. He has no control over that disease. My heart goes out to him. But if he was freebasing cocaine, my heart would go out to him in the same way. And I would not judge him any more for freebasing cocaine than I would for being a diabetic. Someday, we will look back and we will say, can you believe how we treated addicts? Can you believe how we treated them? But until that happens, then it's up to us. You understand? Until the rest of the world gets that, it is up to us to treat those people like human beings. You may not believe this, but there's not much I would like more than for Mark to get about 4 years in prison, 48 months, and then a good rehab. Because I believe inside that guy is a great human being trying to get out. I don't think he took any joy pointing that gun at me. And he definitely took joy when I handed him that money, but not because he got over on me. Sadly, he needed drugs to stop feeling guilty that he had just robbed a perfect stranger. That's the nature of our disease. You understand? It's a loop. He gets the money. He starts feeling guilty about the money. He's got to do more dope. And all of that just continues to go. I have that disease of diabetes, but not having control is the minute I have some control over my blood sugar for type 2 diabetes anyway. You know, the reality that we can't control our drug addiction is our control of drug addiction. Can I control heroin? No, I can't. But I know damn well I'm never going to do it again. And that's a crap load of control. Never say never. Listen to me. Never. Never going to do it again. They tell you not to say that. Too much pressure, all of that. Never, ever am I doing that again. I know what happens to Tommy Scoville when he does heroin. You've never met him. You have no perspective whatsoever. But Johnny knows. There are people in my life that know what it is when I become a heroin addict. And nothing matters but heroin. I'll tell you a story, and we're getting toward the top of the hour, so I'll tell you this story. Because it reminds me of Mark, the Mark that robbed me. I was in a store with somebody, and I needed to steal a $2,000 toolkit. It was full of 40 whatever, the highest battery powered tools that you could get. It came in this big, huge suitcase. So I picked up 2 of them. And the person I was with said, there are people all over the store staring at us. Look at those people over there. And you had people doing this one, right? They're looking at stuff going, right? It was really obvious that everybody in that place was looking for me because I had been robbing them consistently day in, day out, day in, day out. And the person I was with said, this is a no-go. You can't do this. So I picked up the 2 suitcases and I looked at the person that was next to me and I said, yeah, watch this. And I went marching toward the front door carrying these 2 suitcases. And they tackled me before I even got to the towers. The things that you set off the alarm. I was still in the store, right? I'm bulletproof. They tackled me in the store. You can't do that. It's not a theft. And as they tackled me and I was on the ground, they split my lip I can still feel it. My teeth, because I was gritting, my teeth went into my lip. So there was blood and everything else. And I looked up at the people that I was with and I yelled, run, run. Because there was no point in all of us getting caught. And as I laid there bleeding all over the ground, I started laughing. And the guy said, something funny? I said, I got a check in my top pocket made out to Home Depot. I'm not here to rob anything. You geniuses just tackled me before I even got outside the door. You got nothing. And I was giggling, and he said, keep laughing. Keep laughing. I said, hey, I didn't do anything wrong. He said, keep laughing. Then they handcuffed me in front of all of the people in the store, and they marched me back to the very end of the store into the security office, what they call loss prevention. And when I walked in, there was a wall 20 feet wide, 20 feet tall, and every single picture on that wall was a picture of me, dressed in different clothing, right? Stealing different things. But every single time I had ripped off this store, they had a picture of it on the wall. And when I walked in, he said, I looked up and my heart stopped. And I'm sure all of the color ran out of my face. And he said, got something else you want to say, Miller? Because that was my last name at the time. And I said, yeah, I'd like to talk to an attorney. But the desperation, knowing that they were looking at me, and I was just going to try to run out of that place anyway. My heart goes out to the people that were with me that day, because there were people who cared about me, and they had to run away and leave me, knowing what was going to happen to me. Wouldn't have done them any good to stay. Just would have meant all of us went to jail. But that desperation is the same desperation that put a Colt 1911A in Mark's hands yesterday at 11 or 1:30 in the afternoon in front of a camera. He decided to do the robbery anyway. And if someone was standing next to him and said, Mark, you're on camera, you know what he would have said? He would have said, yeah, watch this. Because desperation makes you do things that you normally wouldn't have done. People, I hope that in the last 830 shows you've learned something. If you haven't, get a journal. Get up tomorrow morning and make your bed. And if you feel like life is kicking the ever-loving hell out of you, if you feel like life is really being a bitch, step up to the plate. Decide that you're going to overcome, no matter how bad it is. No matter how bad it is. You know, every once in a while you see something that just humbles you. I don't watch football. I used to. I was religious about it. I used to watch it with my father. I used to watch it with my brother Johnny. And then one day, I saw a black man. And I mentioned that he was black because I think it's relevant. But I watched a black man who was standing on two aluminum legs. He was wearing his full regalia. He had on a green dress uniform, and he had all of his ribbons and all of his badges and everything on it. And he was standing on two metal legs like this as they were playing the national anthem. And in front of him were four guys who play sports for a living. They weren't making $38,000 a year to get their legs blown off. They're getting paid $120,000 a game to go play a game they would play for free. A game that we all played in high school. But they couldn't be bothered to get off of their knee for the national anthem. You could take whatever you want for that, you know? I saw a guy recently say, you got to stand up for what you believe in. This was a guy who took a knee. You want to stand up for what you believe in, stand up for what you believe in. That's okay. Not at the expense of others. if you learned anything on this boat, it's that we all love one another. And we all love one another because of the things that we've been through. You know what, Luke Skywalker? You give me more credit than I deserve. I'm not smart enough to write a book. Sadly, that's the truth. Maybe a ghostwriter someday. But 830 shows down, people. In the next 830, I'm going to get together and I'm going to say, we've done 1,660 of these. What have we learned? And I want everybody in the entire comment section to say, well, I journal. I get up every day and I journal. I make my bed. Small baby steps that move you forward in the right direction so that we're not just a club that gets together and pats each other on the back. Sobriety is base camp. It's not the finish line. So here's my promise. I'm going to do another 830 of these shows. I won't stop then either, but I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I really hope that the people here, whether you like me or not, that you'll get a journal and you'll start writing in it. That you'll get up tomorrow morning and you'll make your bed. And you know what? It might suck getting out of bed. It might be a day that you would rather be in bed than do anything. Get up. Get up. Because the other option sucks. Thank you, Todd, I appreciate it. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. I'll be waiting for the movie, right? Killing Brett Miller. That's going to be the name of the book. I'll be back tomorrow morning. And this precious thing is a cat in a basket. All right. Good night, everybody. We love you. And by we, I mean me and Squirrel Nut Zipper. Say goodnight, Squirrel. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for giving me 830 shows. I hope you'll give me another 830. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. This has been The Lifeboat. God bless.